program is intended for all audiences. Welcome to the South Burbs Hitmen podcast with your hosts Joe Mandel, Steven Zimmerman, and Chris Gonzalez. We're bringing you the White Sox coverage you need from the perspective of true Southsiders. Grab your Comiskey dog with an ice cold beer and meet us in section 155. Everyone get on your feet for your 2021 South Burbs Hitmen.
That ball hit deep. Way back. You can put it on the board. Yes. Jimenez in the air. Left field. He's your hero tonight. Thanks, Cubs.
Over the head of Jenks. Uribe charges throws. Out! And the White Sox have won the World Series.
Alexei! Yes! 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 History! A perfect game by Mark Burley, and what an unbelievable play by Dwayne White.
First pitch starts now. Welcome, everybody, to the first episode of South Burbs Hitmen. I'm your host, Joe Mandel, and, I'm one of the residents here on the Barroom, diehard White Sox fan. Been dying to get a Sox show off the ground forever, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Steven Zimmerman and Chris Gonzalez. These are the guys that will be talking White Sox baseball with you every single week, and I tell you what, we're just happy to have a White Sox show for everyone. We're the South Burbs Hitmen, man. We're ready to talk baseball, and the White Sox are on the rise. Who's excited? I know you guys are, right?
Oh, man, we can't wait.
That's right. So for those of you not in the know, this guy to my left, or I can't even tell what direction that is Steven Zimmerman. Zim, why don't you introduce yourself really quickly?
Well, as you just said, I'm Steven Zimmerman. You can find me on Twitter at Raging Sox Fan. Forgive my background right now. We're in the process of moving, so things are a little messy. It'll get a lot more
good,
festive as the season rolls along. Hopefully, with a lot more accolades to put up behind me. So, yeah, I'm ready for an awesome season of White Sox.
No doubt about it. And let's toss it to our man below. He's our resident umpire, and he's a diehard Sox fan, too. I'm talking about Chris Gonzalez. I like to call him Gonzo. Gonzo, what's up, buddy?
What up, Joe? Good job on the open, by the way.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm Chris Gonzalez. You can find me at Twitter, GonzoCG3. That's my handle. And, man, it's going to be a great season, boys. I mean, quite the lineup to come that Tony Russa put out there today, and they put up a hell of a game, 7-2 win out there in Tempe. So
yeah, the boys are definitely getting that engine ready to go. They've been geared up. They've been getting, that lineup. The bats are starting to heat up, and we're all excited about it. For those of you who don't know, I'm Joe Mandel. I've had a bunch of shows here on the Barroom over the years. I do a show here called Fantasy Football Goon, where we talk fantasy all year long, get you ready for fantasy football. And, of course, I've been a part of a handful of other shows in the network, including I Have a Stream and you name it. So we have been all over the place, really excited to bring you a White Sox show. And we have a hell of a guest tonight. He'll be joining us here in just a little bit. But for those of you who don't know, we have Chuck Garfien joining us from NBC Sports Chicago. So he's going to be awesome. We're excited to talk to him about this team and kind of the potential heading into 2021. But we do have another big giveaway for all of our folks in the chat room, and I think they're probably kind of excited about it. We're giving away a signed Tim Anderson jersey. There it is, guys. Who wants it? I know somebody out there is going to win it, and we're going to give it away to a lucky listener and someone that followed the contest rules on our page to retweet and share and like us on Twitter. And even if you're not in the contest, head on over to Twitter at South Burb Hitmen or Facebook at South Burbs Hitmen and like our page or follow us. We're going to be bringing you White Sox content all year long. And who knows? This is good. This could be the season of seasons. Yeah, Laurel knows what I'm talking about. Dope intro. Huge props to my guy Steve Zimmerman for helping me out with the audio on that, and I did the video and some of the audio. It was a lot of fun to put together. I agree, Zach Martin 41. This is the year. Everyone is excited. I'm excited. Steve Zimmerman is jumping out of his pants over there. Just look at him, guys. Am I wrong, Zim?
No, not at all. I mean, this is going to be the season that we've been waiting for since 06, when we thought that team was going to really bounce back. And I mean, it was a hell of a season. It was incredibly exciting, but, fell short of the ultimate goal. And I think this year is the first year we've had since then that's a legitimate, what's the word I'm looking for, Joe? it's
possibility.
Yeah, possibility. Thank you. It's a real possibility. It's something that we could actually attain this season. We could be playing in late October, early November this year.
And, and for as much hate as that the move got in the offseason, I think the Tony La Russa signing is really starting to pay off, because I've seen it in spring, and I know you guys have seen it too, how he's getting these guys into a routine. I like the innings he's giving everyone. And yeah, you could say any manager is going to do that, but look at how great some of these guys are doing. These young guys, Matthew Vaughn. I mean, these guys are having great seasons. All the catchers, for that matter. I was just saying, we do not envy that. We'll talk a little bit later. That's going to be a tough decision. We'll see what Chuck thinks about that. But before we get any further into that, I want to talk a little bit about our fandom, and I'll talk a little bit about my own. Just because, why not? We have a lot to talk about, and we're all excited. But I grew up as a Sox fan my entire life. And, I actually, from the day I was born, was a White Sox fan. I remember going to New Comiskey Park early on, going to games, sitting in the park, taking in the atmosphere. It's everything I ever wanted. And then time comes for high school, my whole family, my whole entire life worked in the ballparks. So we were, selling nachos, beers, hot dogs, you name it. So by the time I went to high school, here I am, young kid looking to make some money and, working the ballpark in the summer. I worked there pretty much from high school until I got out of college, and it helped me pay my way through college. I'm forever grateful for the opportunity to work in the park. I got to work there for the World Series, got to watch 2 World Series games from behind the nacho stand in between innings, because let's be honest, how many people were getting nachos between innings at the World Series, right? So I got to see those World Series games at home, and I've just been a bleeding black and white pretty much since the day I was born. So this is my team. They've always been my team, and it's amazing to be able to bring a show to you guys, because I know the city clamors for it, and we all know how big of a hit the White Sox are here in the south suburbs. And, being a New Lenox myself, being in Tinley Park, being in the South Burbs, I lived in Bridgeport for all of college. So I went to games all the time, and that's what I bring to the table, And of course I went to school for broadcast journalism, always wanted to talk White Sox. So it's a dream come true for me, and to share it with you, Chris, and you, Steven Zimmerman. It's a mouthful. I love saying the full thing, but I just love doing it with you guys. Yeah. I'm Nacho average fan. Thank you. I appreciate that. Macho Man Randy Savage wrote that joke, everybody. But Gonzo, why don't you for a minute talk a little bit about your fandom or what you love about the White Sox, what drew you to them, and before Chuck gets here, let's just talk a little bit about our fandom. So shoot it, boy, bring it on.
Both my parents were Cubs fans, and they tried to manipulate me at an early age.
Okay.
But when the Cubs choked in 03, I switched sides, and oddly, Carlos Lee and Megley Ordonez kind of sparked my interest. And then a year later, White Sox won the World Series in 05. Took off as a diehard Sox fan, and I haven't looked back ever since.
That's awesome, dude. That is awesome.
Great,
and of course,
to become a Sox fan.
Yeah, no kidding. It could not have been any better time to become a White Sox fan. But Gonzo, before we move on to Zim, why don't you tell us a little bit? You do a little bit of baseball work on the side. You know what? Let's hold that thought. We'll get back into this conversation in just a minute. Well, and then a minute after our special guest joins. But we just had our guest join us. And of course, we are blessed by the presence of Chuck Garfien from NBC Sports Chicago. Chuck, thank you so much for taking the time to join us on South Burbs Hitmen.
All right. This is your premiere episode?
It's the first show, man. You're our first guest.
Wow, I'm honored. Honored to be on this show with you guys. Good stuff. How's the show going so far?
So far, so good. Talking a little bit about our fandom, how we became Sox fans, and how much we're looking forward to 2020. So I think that's a great place to lead off. There's a lot of excitement around this team, Chuck. What has it been like being at these spring training games? I know you've been calling these games on TV. Talk a little bit about that experience too.
All right. So, if you look at the win-loss record, you're probably thinking, like, what's going on with the White Sox? Well, why are they, first off, losing so many games? Why are they tying so many games too? They've tied 5 times. There's a lot more going on than just the win-loss record. And you just want to see how guys look individually and don't really look so much at their record. And so what I'm seeing is this team's going to hit a lot. Eloy Jimenez just smoked a home run over the batter's eye today. I think it was over the batter's eye. Just lost it in the Arizona sky. He looks great. Abreu, TA, Eaton, they're going to score a lot of runs. And you can't always look at spring training and be like, okay, this is who this person's going to be. But I think what we saw last year is really what this team will be offensively, and they're going to be really good. Carlos Rodon, and the keys, I think really the 2 big keys to the season are Dylan Cease, and if not Carlos Rodon, whatever they're going to get from the number 5 spot in the rotation. That's kind of how I'm looking at this right now. The bullpen is going to be amazing. So I'm not saying they're going to win the division or win the World Series, but I will say they can win the division or a World Series. We'll see what happens.
Hey, that's what all us Sox fans like to hear. We've been waiting pretty much what feels like forever for this team to emerge, and they really have. Now, Gonzo, I'm going to toss it to you. What you got one for Chuck? What do you got?
Yeah, Chuck, I've been listening to your White Sox Talk podcast on NBC Sports Chicago, and I know you're a huge fan of Mercedes. I'm going to throw this catcher question at you and let you go with it. Is Grandal and Lucre going to be the catcher duo? And Mercedes and Collins, are they going to be trade assets at the deadline with how good they've been at spring training here?
Yeah. So, I am a fan of Yermin Mercedes for all who he is and what he is. Is he the answer at catcher? Probably not. But I just like his flair. I like his personality. And, I think he can be clutch for this team if needed. We actually have Zach Collins. He'll be on the White Sox Talk podcast tomorrow. We taped it today.
Don't miss it, guys. Tune in.
Yeah. So my feeling the White Sox are in a position they've never been in, where they've got like almost too much catching, which just sounds so strange to say. And one thing we talked about with Zach, I mean, he's in a tough he's been in a tough spot from the very beginning in that, it takes a while to learn how to be a catcher, a major league catcher. And he has not exactly been put in the greatest position to succeed, because it's not like he's been like Giolito where, all right, it's 2018, take your lumps, just go play the whole season in the majors. We don't care what happens. And what happened with Zach was by the time he was like ready to come to the majors, you already had McCann here, then you had Grindal, and he can play every day. So now you're asking Zach Collins, who's still learning the position, still learning how to hit in the major leagues, play every 3 or 4 days and pinch hit in the majors. Like, that's not easy. So he's really worked at his game, his catching and his hitting, and it's showing so far in spring training. And he's making it tough on the White Sox, I think, to make a decision on what to do. Jonathan Lucroy is an all-star catcher who has been injured the last 4 or 5 years. He seems to be healthy now. He talks like he should be a major league manager in the future. The guy is really sharp. So are they going to take 3 catchers and, from spring training and put them on the open day roster? The thing about Collins is he gives you a lefty bat. He can DH. So I'm not sure how this is all going to play out. I really don't. It's a good problem to have, though. But you're going to hear Zach Collins say it would be a mistake if I'm not on the opening day roster. He feels like he should be there. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And catching is something we feel like we've never had, and all of a sudden we have it in bounds. So we're excited about that. Steven Zimmerman is my guy to my left. He's got some more questions too. Zim, what do you got?
Well, yeah, I absolutely agree with the fact that Collins has earned a spot on this opening day roster by all means. Another guy who's fighting for that possibility is Andrew Vaughn right now. And, I feel like he could be in a similar position to where Zach Collins came in. I was just, kind of thinking, since you're around a lot more, you're hands-on with this team, how have you seen this Andrew Vaughn situation developing? And, is that going to take time away from Jose Abreu or even a guy like Zach Collins at the DH? Like, how's that really going to develop this season? Or is he just going to end up staying in the minors?
First off, I just want to take a step back. Look at the discussion we're having, that there's almost too many players for these spots.
It's wild, isn't it?
We have not had this conversation with the White Sox in years.
No.
So, and listen, baseball's a long season. Injuries happen. Underperformance happens. So all this depth we're talking about is great. It's a great problem to have. And if it turns out that Zach Collins has to start in AAA, he does. Something tells me he'll find his way to the majors at some point. Andrew Vaughn is and maybe Andrew Vaughn ends up splitting DH at bats with Zach Collins. There's one guy's a righty, one guy's a lefty. And, Jose Abreu doesn't want to come out of games, but maybe he gets a rest here or there, and then you put Andrew Vaughn at first base. And I've been really impressed with Vaughn at first base. He's picking, really good at picking throws across the diamond. Elite kind of defense in that regard. I'm not sure what his range is yet, but I've been impressed with his first base defense so far. There might be some service time thing. I don't know anything about it. I'm hearing that might be something where he can sign an extension, and so there will be no service time. I don't know how that's going to play out. Either way, I think he's ticketed right now to be the DH or get most of the at-bats at DH. And if you look at the lineup they put out today, and if this ends up being a lineup, this is my favorite lineup. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, amazing.
It goes Anderson, Robert. I want Robert batting second. We've seen Grandal up there too. He might end up being number 2, but I like Robert more. And then it goes Abreu, Moncada, Jimenez. Then it's, I think, Grandal. I'm forgetting someone. But then it's Vaughn batting. What's that?
No, you're right. I just pulled it up.
Eden. It's Eden.
Yep.
Vaughn. So Vaughn's batting 8th. Okay. Andrew Vaughn could win Rookie of the Year, and he's batting 8th in this lineup, and then Madrigal. So
the lineup is stacked.
He's going to be in a position to succeed. I actually thought the Sox, was me just talking without really, before I spoke with Vaughn about a lot of stuff here at spring training, which was, I thought, listen, the guy's never played above a high A. Are the White Sox putting him in a position to succeed, to be a major league hitter this year? And from what he was saying was that, listen, he was the alternate site facing AAA and Major League pitching. He was facing Garrett Crochet, people like that, and he learned a lot. Are there going to be some growing pains with him as a DH? Yes. But have you noticed the numbers the White Sox have gotten at the DH position the last 7 years? The bar is very, very low. So I think Andrew Vaughn will be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, anything's an improvement over last year, right?
Last year, you can throw Adam Dunn in the mix.
Many years.
Yandro Alonso in there. You can throw Adam LaRoche. So
you name it, the list goes on and on.
Yeah, we okay.
And speaking of improvements behind the plate, Luis Robert had a great hot start to the year last year, kind of fizzled in the second half. He's been working a lot in the offseason. What improvements have you seen from him there? And, how do you think he adjusts going into his sophomore season?
Okay, so defensively he looks the same, and he won a Gold Glove, so we're good there.
Right.
It is difficult to really judge him at the plate, and I say that because they're not trying to get him out. They're not really trying to get anybody out. These pitchers, for the most part, are just trying to get their pitches over and make outs. Not, okay, this is Luis Robert. What's the book on Robert? Let's throw him this, 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 and this. So I can't fully answer that question yet. I think he knows what they were trying to do to him at the end of last year. And we're going to see that again at the start of this year, throw him a lot of off-speed stuff and breaking stuff. But if he can lay off those pitches, he's going to get the pitches he wants, and he can do damage. And so I don't think I can really tell you from what I've seen at spring training if he's ready to take that next step just from those at-bats. I believe he will take the next step, but there's been nothing visually that I've seen where it's like, oh, look what he's doing now with these pitches. I just think it's more of he's just getting his work in.
Yeah, and we got a question here in the chat room asking about his position in the lineup. Do you think he's going to move up at all, or do you think he'll stay towards the bottom? I'm curious where you think he ends up in this lineup.
Yeah, I was a little, I guess, confused because La Russa had said he had Grandal batting second for a few games, and he had said he likes him batting second because he's a switch hitter and he's selective and he can take a lot of pitches. But then the last couple of days, I think I've seen, well, certainly today, Robert's batting second and Grandal's batting sixth. So I can't fully answer that one. But the other thing La Russa said was that he's going to have his lineup here, but he's also going to play matchups and who's hot and who's not. I had a lot of problems with the lineup construction the previous few years. Something tells me I'm not going to have those problems with La Russa doing this lineup. Just a hunch.
It's a nice thing to have, especially
and
after
honestly,
the last couple years.
If I do a wrong with it, we're going to talk about it on the post-game shows for sure.
Sure.
But La Russa has been down this road before, so I don't think we're going to be seeing some silliness in the lineup with the White Sox, like Nicky Delmonico batting fourth.
Or batting at all, right?
No, he can bat.
He can bat. I know.
Fine. Go ahead. You need him. Put him in lineup. Do not bat him fourth.
Yeah. No cleanup, Nicky.
No.
All right, Gonzo. What do you got next, buddy?
Yeah, Chuck, I want to transition to the pitchers. You can arguably they're 1 through 3 solid. They're probably going to have one of the best bullpens in the American League, if not the best bullpen. What's the talk been around camp with the new pitching coach, Katz?
I mean, it's, in spring training, everything's great. Everything is rosy. Sure. Everyone's winning the Cy Young. Everyone's winning the World Series. We have the best pitching coach in America. It's that. So I need to, remind people that, and because you go to the Detroit Tigers are probably talking, hey, we have a shot to make the playoffs this year. That's the kind of thing that they're talking about. Actually, the Kansas City Royals, Whit Merrifield said that they expect to make the playoffs. That's my sleeper team, the Royals. Just laying it out there right now.
All right, he's got it on air.
They are going to be a pain in the ass. Can I say ass on this?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. But to answer your question, I mean, I've talked to 10, 12. I don't even know how many players I've talked to and coaches. I even talked to La Russa about this, about Ethan Katz, and they're all raving about him. Nothing against Don Cooper, but Katz just brings another kind of element to pitchers of today. And he has he just ends up, every pitcher is an individual case, and he treats that player like that. Not saying Coop didn't do that, but I think there's just more of a breadth to, and more of a scope and more communication that these players are getting from Katz about, hey, you're doing this, we got to do this, 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 and this, and then you can do that. And I think there's just they saw what he did with Giolito, and they see there's a roadmap. Like, okay, this is someone who can fix people. Not saying Coop didn't fix people, but because he did. But right now, everything is very, very positive with Katz, and I'm just judging by what the players and the pitchers, and what the catchers are saying about him. There's some, we could see some better seasons for Cease, Rodon. Not sure yet about Lopez, and other pitchers too, Jimmy Lambert, etc.
Yeah, hopefully Michael Kopech's on that list too. That's he's been one of those. There's so many names we have so many arms, and that's a great problem to have. I tell you what, I've been excited to watch all these guys throw all off season long. I know everyone's probably feeling the same. I'm gonna toss it over to Steven. Steven, what do you got for us, brother?
Well, it's just we're all over the board with our list here, and I'm just trying to narrow it down because there's so much to talk about with this team, and I'm just trying to pick out individual things. But going into that bullpen, with Jimmy Cordero getting Tommy John, it actually almost helps the team by opening up a spot. But another guy with an injury, Adam Engel, that just when did that happen? Yesterday when he was making that play, and so that's one of those injuries that I saw. Man, I can't organize my thoughts right now. I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it, man.
We're going to talk about Adam Engel.
Adam Engel being out, Adam Eaton obviously in. I'm not sure if Adam Eaton was expected to be an everyday player or more of a rotational guy. So what does that do with the outfield in particular, in your opinion? Because, obviously Luis Robert is the anchor out there, but Eloy's defense is iffy, and now right field seems to be oddly thin almost as it was last year.
Okay. Here's my thoughts on all that. Adam Eaton is the everyday right fielder. I think if he stays healthy, and now, like when he was with the White Sox, he was healthy every year. He was extremely consistent. If you look at his numbers, it's kind of eerie. Like it's almost impossible to do what he did on a year-to-year basis, having those, I think it was 3 seasons the same. He was not able to stay healthy with the Nationals except for one season. It was the year they won the World Series. He is very good. He's an average to very good defender. He will be the right fielder, the starting right fielder. If he struggles, they have depth. They have someone who can take his place. They can bring in Adam Engel when he's healthy, and I think Engel will be back between 2 and 4 weeks. Over the course of a long season, I wouldn't worry about this. He's going to be fine. They also have Billy Hamilton now, and I love this acquisition or the signing of Billy Hamilton for this team.
He's fast.
He's fast. I mean, and you put an outfield time where it's Adam Engel, Luis Robert, and Billy Hamilton. That ball is not touching the ground with those 3 in the outfield. So, but Engel is coming, I'm so impressed with him. He's essentially their 4th outfielder. And Eloy Jimenez is getting better defensively. He just can't get hurt. Go ahead and make a bad play. Just don't get hurt. So
there were some bad ones last year.
yeah. But he's made a couple of really good plays here this year.
Yes.
Yesterday or 2 days ago.
Yeah, that diving catch was great.
Yeah, it was yesterday. So, I
don't forget about Leroy.
Am I answering all your questions in there or what?
Yeah, I mean, we've just got this smorgasbord of questions in front of us, and I'm trying to narrow down specifics. And
you're perfect, Chuck.
Playing to all fields right now.
Yeah,
it's all good. I'll go ahead and hop in and take the next one. But obviously, getting back to pitching for a second. I'm just curious to you. What does this starting rotation look like to you? Obviously, the top 3 is rounded out. Who are the bottom 2 of the rotation for you, Chuck, right now?
It's Cease, and then today we found out that Ronald Lopez was sent down to, I guess, the alternate site. So Rodon is going to be the number 5, period. I mean, Rodon has not given up a run in 9 innings of work in spring training, no walks, 10 strikeouts. So, I think that's your rotation right now. So people were Sox fans, a certain amount were very, very critical of the signing of Carlos Rodon.
Sure.
Because the Sox have not been able to rely on him because of his health, because of underperformance, you name it. And I get it. I think what the plan with the White Sox was, all right, they talked to him. They have Ethan Katz, who they think that can fix him, if you want to call it fix. And they looked at it as, okay, we're going to sign you to a 1-year deal. It was like, $3 million. Let's see what you can do. And let's see what Ronaldo Lopez can do. One of these guys will probably be the number 5 starter. If it's June and one of these two guys is not the answer, we're going to trade for someone. And I think you can expect that if Rodon or Cease or there's no injuries, whatever, or there's an injury, I should say. I think what you should get in your mind is that, you don't always have to have all the answers on April 1st or, February 1st. This team wants to win. And as long as this team is not 15 games out on July 31st, you're going to see some additions be made to help this team win. So, if you're in the camp of why they signed Carlos Rodon, well, I think there's a bigger picture at play here.
Yeah, and his health is, a big thing too. He's finally has that off season where he's putting it together. Maybe now that he's healthy with the addition of Katz, he could really come in and regain his old form.
I will say this is probably his last chance. And when I say that,
sure,
if he ends up having a good season, great. But I mean, they've been hoping that he will, be able to reach his potential. I want to believe that, and I'm hoping it really happens for him because there's a few guys who have been here a long time, and they have lost a lot of games. It's Larry Garcia, it's Carlos Rodon, it's Tim Anderson, and Jose Abreu. I want those guys more than anybody in a way to really win because it's been a struggle for them in the win column for a long time.
Yeah, it's time to win, that's for sure.
Yeah, Chuck, you were talking about this championship window, and when the deadline comes around, if we need answers, we better be looking for them. And I'll just throw 2 names at you before I get to a question. And one would be right field, Michael Conforto. That'd be an interesting deadline move. And then for starting pitcher, if Rodon's struggling, Kopech is still in the bullpen. Possibly John Gray out in Colorado, change of scenario. He's got some dangerous stuff. Might be a good pickup.
The thing with right field is, Eden's basically on a 1-year deal. Mm-hmm. They did sign Yoelqui Cespedes, who could be the answer there long term. Possibly, we'll see. I don't know. International free agent. Seasons go in all sorts of different ways. So they are aware. I would like to think the front office is very much aware of players who might be available at the deadline, and they'll be watching those players and scouting them. And Conforto, yes, that's a possibility. John Gray, watch the Cubs. I mean, I don't know if they'll want to trade with the White Sox again, but Kyle Hendricks, that would be pretty good.
Yeah, so thanks, Cubs, right?
Yeah, there we go.
Now, the question I was going to get to, Chuck, now this hard to answer off of spring training, but just from your perspective, with the understanding that La Russa was signed to a 2 to 3 year contract and handpicked Miguel Cairo as his bench coach, could Cairo really be the next manager that replaces Tony during this championship window?
Who knows? It's on paper, sure, maybe it's Joe McEwing, maybe it's somebody else. I don't know. Is it a year to year with Tony? I'm not sure. I am impressed with him. The players really are really respecting him. I mean, Jose Abreu was just raving about him today with us in the media, saying that he's never felt more comfortable at spring training in 7 or 8 years than this year about not only himself physically, mentally, but just where things are at with the way spring training is being run and the amount of detail and how Tony is just he's been through this before. He's been running spring trainings for, he's had like 30 years of managing under his belt. So what I would suggest, I respect your question. I would embrace the fact that you have the third winningest manager in the history of the game managing the White Sox.
Amen
and
to
the
that.
players are have the ultimate respect for him. But don't think about who's going to replace him yet. Let him manage a few games first.
No, I love, them bringing Tony in during this championship window. I just found it really curious that he picked Cairo. It was just like out of nowhere, as a bench coach. So I was just curious to that move.
It's not out of nowhere. I think Cairo is a guy who's been very, very respected and has been kind of looked at as a guy who could be a manager one day. I just don't think he was in position to want to be in the dugout yet. I think we've been in the front offices, and that's a whole different daily life, front office versus coaching. I think that was the situation with them.
Yeah.
But he's one of those guys that's this guy, when Troy La Russa was, he wasn't a great player. He was actually a pretty bad one. He's admitted that. But people in the game were saying, this is a guy who will be a coach, a manager one day. And I think that's what they were saying with Miguel Cairo. Now, they didn't, as far as I can tell, they didn't say, hey, you can take over for Tony. Maybe they alluded to the possibility, but let's focus on 2021 first, and then we'll.
Cairo is just a familiar face, and it's similar how he brought in Shelby Duncan for the analytics to help Tony out in the dugout.
By the way, you guys know your stuff. You guys know your stuff. I'm impressed. Well, not that I needed to be impressed by you guys, but as I'm talking to you, and you are, a lot of the nitty gritty, and I'm props to you guys for your diehardness. That's a word about the White Sox.
Appreciate that, Chuck. Yeah. Thank you very much. And we know we only have a little bit more of your time. We appreciate what you've given us so far. We have a couple more before we let you go. Zim, I know you had another one.
Yeah,
this one formulated.
I've got I thought this one through this time, I promise.
Right.
So Ron in the chat asked, how do you think that the short 2020 season is going to impact this team and how it impacted them last year versus this year? And then jumping on top of that, how do you think that, fans in the stands is going to affect things? I know in other sports, like in basketball, they said that shooting was actually easier without fans in the stands. So I'm wondering if, we might see regression in some of these players or something because of it.
So you're going to see regression, and you're going to see guys get better and play better. I was talking to Adam Eaton about this, and he had a bad year offensively, and he said a big reason for him was he needed the fans. He needed the energy from the fans to get him amped up. It gave him that added boost that he never realized was there because he never played in front of empty stadiums. I was at a few games last season, and there were no fans. It was utterly bizarre. It was not real. It was it took an adjustment. Some guys like Abreu, no big deal. But, Javi Baez, JD Martinez, there's so many guys. Jose Altuve batted 212 or 220. There's a lot of guys that struggled with this. How will Luis Robert play with fans in the stands? Will some players feel more pressure? Will some players see the spotlight, feel it more, and play better? So I think there's going to be an element of that. And then the first part of your question was something else. I can't remember what that was.
The shortened season from last year.
Yeah, so I think you're going to have – no one knows the answer. And you're going to see – you're always going to see pitching injuries. We're going to see some this year because the entire league is not ready for 200 innings.
Right.
Some guys, for whatever reason, whether it's their training, their DNA, luck, they'll be able to just pick up right where they left off. Others will not, and it's almost like Russian roulette. Some guys are just going to have some bad luck on their side physically. And it's not really luck, but just who knows? It's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of randomness, and we're going to see more injuries. So if you have depth in your system from a pitching standpoint, I believe you will have a distinct advantage over other teams this year.
Have you seen anything like so far, just in the beginning of spring training here, guys with more energy coming off a shortened season or anything?
No,
like that?
no, I don't see that. I don't. But I think what you're going to see is you're going to see a lot of quick hooks. If a pitcher is, they're up 8-0 in the fourth inning, you might see a pitcher get pulled. If they're down 8-0 in the third, or not 8-0, yeah, they'll definitely be pulled. But I think there'll be some shorter leashes. Just be like, why waste this guy's arm right now? Let's just, you might see guys get skipped a start or two, just to save their arm for the end of the season. So I think that you'll see things like that.
That's awesome, Chuck. Again, we thank you for joining us for the first episode of South Burbs Hitmen. We couldn't have asked for a better guest. And before we get you out of here, we were wondering if we could ask you to do a quick station ID for us. You
Sure.
can just say your spiel. I'm Chuck Garfien. You're listening to South Burbs Hitmen. That would be awesome.
Listening.
Sorry, you broke up a little bit during that. What was that, Chuck?
Should I say you're listening to South Burbs Hitmen?
You got it. Yes, sir.
Not watching, but listening. Okay. All right. Hey, this is Chuck Garfien. You guys are all no, I shouldn't say guys. Let me do it again. Here we go. Hey, everyone. This is Chuck Garfien, and you are listening to the South Burbs Hitmen. This show rocks, and you need to listen to it every single time the podcast drops.
My man, one take, Chuck. Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Well, that's true. But I like that one anyway, so it was worth it.
All right.
But Chuck, again, thank you so much for spending your time with us. We know you're a busy man. And for those of you who don't know and live under a rock, Chuck's on NBC Sports Chicago. He is just all over the place. Chuck, if you want to talk a little bit about the podcast before you get out of here, you feel free to give it a little plug. You're welcome to it.
Yeah, it's the White Sox Talk podcast. We had Tony La Russa on today, so you can listen to that one tomorrow. It's Zach Collins. I think we might have another pitcher on in a couple of days. I don't want to say it's not done yet. But anyway, I love my job. I love what I do. I love talking with White Sox fans. You guys are the best. And I'm honored that you would invite me on to your first show. That's awesome. So thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you guys in person in the future without masks. And we can have a beer together. That would be great.
That's right. We're looking forward to it. We're always hanging out in section 155. So we'll make some time. We'll get a beer and a hot dog. And again, Chuck Garfien, you are the man. Thank you for joining us. Have a great night. And as always, go White Sox.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it,
Chuck.
Okay.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, guys. That was Chuck Garfien. Absolutely amazing guest. Huge thanks to him for joining us. And we have the White Sox signed Tim Anderson jersey given away coming up next. But first, we're going to take a quick commercial break. South Burbs Hitmen will be right back.
Look, I don't mean any disrespect. He just didn't play that well, not for a guy of his caliber.
If they don't run the ball here, I'm going to vomit. I swear to God.
I don't really have any recollection of that at all, but I guess perhaps I blacked it all out.
You know, they won, but I'm going to be miserable all week because they stunk. Hello, Bears fans. If you've learned anything about me over my 6 years drafting for Chicago, it's that I need help, especially with my first-round picks. There was Kevin White and Leonard Floyd. And then my biggest investment, Mitch Trubisky. And I know you won't let me forget about Adam Shaheen in round 2. But those mistakes are a thing of the past because now I watch Draft on Tap.
Good choice, Ryan. Draft on Tap features Danny Shimon and Neil Stopchinski, 2 outstanding draft prospect evaluators. This season, they are totally focused on the Chicago Bears' needs and prospects that fit their team. Additionally, their guest list will include some of the most prominent names in scouting. So Ryan, bro, thanks for doing what thousands of others are going to start doing. Watching Draft on Tap with Danny Shimon and Neil Stopchinski, only on the Barroom Network. We can all use a little bit of help, right, Ryan?
Return to South Burbs Hitmen. And we are back. Some great shows on the Barroom Network. I encourage everyone out there listening to tune in. Draft on Tap, Bulls 101, Bare Your Souls, all the shows. They're so great. We appreciate everyone for hanging out with us. Chuck Garfien, again, thank you massively for that great interview. We're excited for this upcoming White Sox season. And before we get to the giveaway, we are going to tell you who we have as our guest next week. Next week, a week from today, we have Scott Merkin, the beat writer for MLB.com for the Chicago White Sox. We're really looking forward to that one. There'll be more great White Sox talk. And, boys, we're off to a great start. And now it's time. What is it time for, Zim? Why don't you tell me?
It's time for a pasta party!
Yes, that's right. It's time for a pasta party, a.k.a. it's time to give away the signed Tim Anderson jersey. And I put it right on the back of my chair so I could easily grab it. Here it is in all its glory.
Mercy!
Check out. Yes, Mercy is right. It's signed. It's Beckett authenticated. Here's the card right here. And it could be a lucky person's prize who one of you guys tuning into the show, hanging out with us, supporting us. Obviously, the rules for the contest, you had to follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, or like us on Facebook and share the contest post. We had a handful of people follow us and share. I mean, it was great to get all the support, guys. It really was. And we're looking forward to bringing you great content all year long. And guys, why don't you, I'll toss it to you, Zim. Why don't you talk a little bit about how we're going to do this giveaway? Because we had a lot of people and we had to find a fair way to give this jersey away.
So we've found the names of everybody who is eligible to win. According to our rules, we've got them all on a little wheel that we're just going to spin and find our winner. Apparently, I am not eligible, which is a real big bummer. But someone else will get to be happy, I guess.
That's right, and it's fair to say, we had so many people enter. We had. Of course, we've removed all barroom personalities, family members, yada, yada, yada. And we just kept it to you guys, the fans, the people who really matter. Support us, keep us going. We love you all for tuning in. Gonzo, any words of wisdom before we spin the wheel?
Just fucking spin it.
Wow. That's the drop of the year, guys.
It's a pasta party.
It is. I was gonna say before all those spins, do you have a drop worthy of spinning a wheel for us, Sim?
The answer is no.
No, I don't have anything.
That's all right.
We're gonna get some great ones this year, though. That's for sure. I don't have a whole lot of Benetti on here and no Steve Stone on here, so we're gonna get some good ones.
Just timestamp my drop. Add it to it.
Oh yeah, we'll go back. We'll pull it later. But that's pretty good. But without further ado, we're going to spin the wheel for you guys. We'll do a little drum roll, and we're going to go just like this. Here it goes. Who is going to be our winner? Who is going to win the signed Tim Anderson jersey? We have a little bit of lag. That's okay. The winner is Aaron. Aaron, if you're with us in the chat room, is there a Twitter handle to go with Aaron? Or a name, a last name?
I'm looking it up right now.
I'm like, it's not any Aaron that we know personally.
No, it is from what I see on my list, it is Aaron at Roll Tide 25.
That's right. Aaron Roll Tide 25. Yes, there it is right there. Roll Tide 25. You are the winner of a signed Tim Anderson jersey. Congratulations. Please reach out to the South Burbs Hitmen Twitter handle at South Burb Hitmen or on Facebook at South Burbs Hitmen. If you're here, feel free to reach out in the chat. We're happy to get a little comment from you on your victory, but congratulations. Thank you for the support. And one more time, I'm going to put this jersey on the camera because why not? Let's show it off a little bit. Congratulations to Aaron Roll Tide. You got the Chicago on the front. How beautiful is that? And the most important part, signed Tim Anderson, Beckett, authenticated. Authentified is not a word, at least not yet. And of course, you'll get the tag to go with it. Beckett authentication with the number, and you'll get it mailed to you at your home address. So get that to me. I will bring it back. I will mail it to you. And of course, you'll be listening and watching South Burbs Hitmen for the rest of your life because why wouldn't you? So the giveaway is done. Congratulations to Aaron. It's been documented. The wheel was awesome. So thanks to our buddy Bobby Bombs from the Barfly Tailgate Show for giving us that wheel, the option to do that. I thought that was great. And it's been a lot of fun. Yes, congratulations. Our buddy Ron Rupp now always supporting us. We appreciate you, Ron. And, of course, the chat room has been pretty fired up tonight. Obviously, Chuck has a lot to do with that. I like to think maybe us having some fun on air at some part of that too. So Aaron is not here in the chat, but we'll see if he if he responds to us here shortly. We'll give him a little bit to get back to us. But congratulations to Aaron. But now let's just segue a little bit, guys. Let's do a smooth transition here. Congratulations to whoever won the jersey. And now we're going to talk back about our fandom, what we were talking about before Chuck came on the show. I know I was tossing it to Gonzo a little bit to talk about what he does baseball related on the side. So why don't you talk a little bit about that, Gonzo?
Yeah, before I go into that, I just want to give Chuck a shout out. True professional, answered all the questions. South
Pros Pro.
Guest, Pros Pro. Now back to my fandom. So when it comes to baseball, I started umpiring my sophomore year. Junior year, I stopped playing baseball for my high school. And I've been umpiring ever since, still do. So 9 years later, I've gone from T-ball all the way up to Division III baseball for the local community college out here. And still do various youth travel ball, high school, college. And this past summer, when I was doing a 13U, it was a 13U game, just the town right over from me. I end up running into an assistant coach by the name of Jim Tomey. And
nice.
As you see in the intro, yeah, that is Jim Tomey. And he's a pro's pro. He's the most humble guy you'll ever meet.
Oh, yeah.
And
Jim
yes,
Tomey's great.
I've reached out to Jim, so we're still hearing back from him. He's still in Arizona, so that's going to take some time. And we've also reached out to Paul Canerico, and that is also on the waiting list. So tune in, Barflies, because this is going to get interesting.
Oh, that's what we like to call a tease here in television land. He's laying down the bricks. How about you, Zim? Why don't you talk a little bit about your fandom? Obviously, talk about where you are right now and how you became a Sox fan, because this is a great story.
Well, yeah. Well, so my whole family is from the Chicago area, but we now live in Denver area, which in my opinion is probably about as far of a suburb as you get from Chicago.
It's very south.
Everywhere you go out here, though, you'll run into Cubs fans, Sox fans, Bears fans, at every Chicago sports team. They're all over the place out here. It really is just a southwest suburb of Chicago, about 1,000 miles away. But yeah, I was born in the suburbs before we moved out here, and my dad actually raised me to be a Sox fan because he grew up a Cubs fan, and he didn't want me to go through that torment and torture for the rest of my life. So It was a lot of fun growing up a Sox fan, and right at the peak of my playing days was when they won the World Series, which was fantastic. On my little league team, we had we got to pick our numbers every year, and I distinctly remember one year 35 was available, and I picked it specifically because of the Big Hurt. And if I remember right, that was the year I started whacking the crap out of the ball too, so it worked out well. But yeah, my family owns a restaurant out here as well, which is completely Chicago themed. So I've been immersed in it still my entire life. Talking with Sox, Cubs, Bears, Blackhawks, Bulls fans almost every day because of that experience. It's been a blast getting to kind of rep the bad guys everywhere I go, because
the bad guys.
If you don't root for the local team out here, they're the bad guys. To us, they're the good guys.
Well, there you go. And like, as I used to say in the early 90s, the good guys wear black, right? I'm dating myself with that. People probably don't even remember that ad campaign, but I do. It was Albert Bell, and man, talk about the bad boys over there. Well, it's better than All In. You guys remember that?
Vaguely.
They were all in, and they didn't win. That's for sure.
That's a teaser for a segment coming up.
That is. We got some fun segments coming up later in the show and throughout the season. But while we're talking about fandom, I figured I'd throw something out there that might get the chat room talking, and we could talk about it too. I want to know, what is your favorite ballpark food, especially now that the world is coming back together and we might actually be able to sit next to a person again without being 6 feet away and without a mask. But what is your favorite ballpark? I can't even talk. Your favorite ballpark food. I'm going to go ahead and toss it to you, Zim, first. Your family owns a restaurant, so I'm sure you got to have a good favorite.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on the ballpark, obviously, right? I'm in Colorado, so out here, you don't get a whole lot of novelty specialty items. So, I mean, the classic is always easy for me. Sunflower seeds, peanuts, something like that. But if I'm in Chicago, the first two places I hit at either ballpark, I should say, I would immediately go get some kind of local Chicago beer and get myself a Polish sausage. Something about a Maxwell style Polish while you watch the game is just, it feels like baseball.
Now, what do you get on your Maxwell style Polish? That's the important question.
Maxwell style, brown mustard, grilled onions, sport peppers.
I figured I had to ask, because a lot of people don't know what Maxwell style means. Grilled onions, brown mustard, and
sport peppers. Of course,
you got to have the sports peppers.
You always put a couple extra on. Like when you get a hot dog, right? You just get like 2, maybe 3 peppers. So you get a little bit of snap in the bite, right? But when you're having a Polish, you got to just load that sucker up and put, 5, 6, 7 sport peppers on there. So you get a whole one in every bite.
Yeah. Our network cohort and our buddy Mike North, he likes to call them dynamite sticks, the sports peppers. So I like that. Yes, that's right, Rena Z. No ketchup ever.
We allow ketchup for children under the age of 7.
Under the age of 7, yes, but no functioning adult. I kid. I'm not. I don't. Oh man, I'm hungry now. Man, what am I gonna do now? That's not fair. Look at it.
Yellow mustard, man. That's the wrong mustard on there. It looks delicious still, though.
I'm not gonna lie. I would still absolutely eat it right now.
I'd crush it.
No doubt. All right, so got the Polish for Zim. Gonzo, what about you? What's your ballpark favorite?
I go with pizza when I'm at the ballpark.
Pizza.
Yeah, but personally, I like to pregame at the Shy Sox Bar and Grill, get some food before the game, some drinks.
Yeah.
When I'm at the game, if I'm still hungry, I'll get a slice of pizza, and then I like to sit up in the 300 level, 324, 326, and my favorite part of that section is there's a full bar right behind you, so you can go pound some drinks. And if you have to go to lower level, get those margaritas in center field, that's also a possibility to do during the game.
It's funny that you mentioned pizza, man, because out here at Coors, that's probably one of the few edible foods in the ballpark is the pizza.
And I think, Joe, that ours is at the Beggars, right? That's what
As
they've
Beggars.
been. Yeah.
Well, it's been a lot of things. It was
Right.
before Beggars. It was DiGiorno. They've come a long way since the DiGiorno days. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's not the ballpark. It's DiGiorno. Anyway. Yeah. Thanks for that. I can't believe I said that out loud. Congratulations to me for that horrible joke. But I know we have some people in the chat room that have been talking about their favorite food. If you have a favorite food, ballpark food, that is, tell us in the chat right now. We're going to feature it on the show. I think we have a few so far. Yeah, Travis, churro dog in Arizona.
Oh, what is that?
I know what a churro is. I don't know what a churro dog is. So Travis, please tell us, because I want to know what it is.
Please
and
tell me
I want to eat
a
it.
hot dog with a churro as the bun.
And is that at the spring
Or is it a
game?
churro with a hot dog in the middle? That's what I want to know.
Like a corn dog, but with a churro outside.
I don't know. Whatever it is, it sounds amazing. So let us know, Travis. Bourbon. Yeah. Yeah. When Aldo and I went to the game, that's all we did, is we drank bourbon behind home plate. No, not quite. But you did see that in the open, Aldo and I at the ball game. We'll be doing that in the future too. Can't wait. Have we ever had one of the buffets?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. Sure. What is it? Tell us about it.
There's the club out at the right field pole. I forgot the name of the.
It's been sponsored by many different things.
But me and my girlfriend, we went on one of our first dates where I bought the ticket.
Upstairs or downstairs?
Upstairs. I bought the voucher to get into the club, and it was all you can eat buffet.
Okay.
So that was pretty good. And it has a nice view to watch the home batting practice if get there an hour and a half to 2 hours before.
Same thing if you go down to the Craft Cave, which is downstairs, formerly the Bullpen Bar. I still call it the Bullpen Bar. They have the Bertucci brothers. They have their buffet before the game with like fried chicken and beef and all that stuff. You can't beat that if you can get a ticket to the game and do that. Get some grub before you come in, hang out down there, watch batting practice from the outfield. Yeah, my wife's got the right idea. Vodka lemonade, man. If you guys haven't had it at the park, it's very good. It's at Guaranteed Rate Field.
Watching the games and getting ready for the season and seeing all the off-season moves has not gotten me as hyped for baseball season and for fans to be back in the stands as much as talking about the food at the stadium is getting me hyped for it right now.
That's right. And Zim, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and do a shameless plug for my hometown stadium. Guaranteed Rate Field has hands down the best craft beer out of any stadium I've ever been in my life. All Chicago local crafts. You got Three Floyds coming in from Indiana. You've got beer coming from Colorado. You got beer coming from California. Every single coast. You can't beat it, man. So you got all the craft beer you could want. Revolution Brewing even has their own, whatever you want to call it, bar in left field with a view of the stadium. I mean, it's top notch. If you're a beer drinker, it's as close to heaven as you're going to get. It's being at a Sox game. Oh, look at that. That's what I call a great director in Aldo Gandia, man. The Craft Cave, man, I'm thirsty. Look at that.
I'm going to have to come out again sometime soon because, I mean, the beer selection at Coors, because it's, sponsored by Coors, is very limited. You only have one or two places where you can get something other than a Coors product. So that just, that looks like so much fun.
Oh, we have an answer to the churro dog. It's a chocolate glazed donut for a bun, a cinnamon churro pretending to be a wiener, then is topped with frozen yogurt, whipped cream, caramel, and chocolate sauce.
Whew.
My arteries hurt.
So it's called a churro dog, but it should be called a diabetes dog.
Yes, type 2 diabetes dog. And then, of course, our boy Travis also talking about Three Floyds Brewing in there out of Indiana. There's some great beers that they have at Sox Park, including Zombie Dust and Gumball Head. So we're like a walking advertisement for Sox Park. And you bet your ass we're going to have some White Sox reps on later in the season to talk about the fan experience and all that jazz. Because at some point, we're going to have more than 20%. And this is random, but did I tell you guys I tried to get tickets for opening day? You know how much tickets are going for at Sox Park right now? Just take a guess for one ticket.
I'd be guessing if it's anything like Rockies opening day, probably in the $700 to $1,000 range.
Yes, sir. They are going for $1,000.
Is that StubHub or is that season ticket holders pricing?
Well, you can't get that's StubHub.
Yeah.
You can't get tickets unless you're a season ticket holder. And I even reached out to my ticket rep and I said, hey, I have a 10-game package. Am I guaranteed opening day? They're like, no. I'm like, well, what if I convert my tickets to season tickets? They're like, no, you're still not eligible. So the senior season ticket holders get first dibs at those, but that's all right. We'll get in. The things will open up eventually. I'll get to watch the games on TV. Definitely cheaper to drink beer at home, but I'd much rather be in the ballpark. No doubt about that. Gonzo, you look so confused. What's wrong?
Well, I saw in the Facebook forums and the Sox groups that the season ticket holders are getting their tickets for face value. So
I'm sure they are.
If you're able to get through with the season ticket holder, best way to do it. Otherwise, you're paying that price on StubHub.
I will say, just for anybody interested in going to games this year, keep an eye on the ticketing apps, whatever you decide to use. Just keep an eye on them, because literally just in the past week, Dodgers at Rockies tickets for opening weekend have gone all the way. They were at about $1,200 to begin, and they are down to about $20 to $30, a much more reasonable price. Not opening day, obviously, but opening weekend itself. So just if you're interested in going to a game, stay persistent. Keep watching those prices.
Yeah. And before we move on to our next segment, we have a segment queued up, but I am going to talk about my favorite ballpark food. I forgot I haven't even mentioned it yet. So you kind of stole mine a little bit, Zim, but I usually get a Vienna beef hot dog grilled on the grill with the caramelized onions and just yellow mustard, because that's what they have right there in the park. If there's sports peppers, I'll toss them on. But my favorite guaranteed rate food is they have a little deli in, I guess it's kind of sort of right field, sort of towards behind home plate. And they have the best corned beef sandwich, man. They have the corned beef. They have like a little jalapeno slaw on there. You get a little brown mustard, and they give you chips piled on the side. And then, of course, if you tip them, you give a couple extra bucks. They'll give you all kinds of chips, and they'll give you extra pickles. It's $13 for a ballpark food. Think about it. It's the greatest value you could have. The half sandwich is this big. The whole sandwich is like this, and you have a mountain of chips. Dude, it's pure deliciousness. If you have not had the corned beef sandwich at Guaranteed Rate Field, you are doing yourself a disservice. Fingers crossed it's available this year. So that's my favorite food at Sox Park.
And I swear you're not the first person who I've heard say that too.
It's even thinner than that, although it's like perfectly, and don't go look for a photo because it'll take you forever to find the right one, but it's sliced so thin and they stack it high. It's unreal. And I cut Zim off. He was saying I'm not the only person to say that.
No, it's funny. I would never think of a corned beef sandwich as a ballpark food, but just the way you're describing it, it sounds perfect for a late night, it's 7:00 game and it's getting a little chilly, but it's not cold, it's summer and that wind's starting to come through and you just need something to hold and eat. That sounds perfect.
Oh yeah. That jalapeno slaw makes the whole thing, man. It's so good. So you guys are, if you haven't had it, definitely try it. Highly praised, highly like it. So that's my favorite. So that's our little ballpark food segment about our fandom. And now we're going to move into actually talking some baseball. So we're going to be doing some segments every single week, recurring throughout the season. This is a segment where we're going to talk about Tony La Russa's decision-making every single week with the bullpen and the lineup and yada, yada, yada. Obviously, this week we'll talk about, our thoughts on the rotation. But this is a segment that we like to call La Russa's Locker. Yeah, so here we are. We're going to talk some baseball. We've talked all kinds of stuff this show. And we're going to talk about Tony La Russa and his rotation. So obviously Chuck Garfien was on, and thanks again to Chuck. He talked a little bit about this rotation pretty much being finalized in his eyes and confirmed. So obviously we have Giolito leading things off. Our rotation is just out of bounds, so good right now. You got Giolito, you got Keuchel, you got Lance Lynn, and then he said you have Dylan Cease, and he said Carlos Rodon is going to round that out. So we're going to do a little roundtable here to talk about it. Chuck talked about how White Sox fans kind of have it out for Carlos Rodon. Obviously, his playoff appearance last year did not help that at all. But Gonzo, I got to get your thoughts about what this starting rotation is going to be and what it could potentially be by the trade deadline.
Yeah, no, I agree with Chuck with how he layered it out for us. 1 through 3 is locked. We got to see how Cease is going to continue to progress this year. The most that I see from Cease, and I haven't watched too much from him spring training, so we're going to have to see how he goes here, but he's got to maintain his control. I think his control on his pitches was what labored him during his progression. And sure. You see it not only in his ERA because it's higher because he's walking, but in his whip, and the whip is high because he's walking people, which, hey, you start walking people, especially that first batter, you walk him. Steve Sono always says he's going to score, and usually that's the case as he ends up scoring. So we'll have to see how Cease is able to progress, and hopefully I saw that Katz on Twitter, I think it was actually Chuck's Twitter, it might have been Merck's Twitter, but there's a video of Katz and Cease working on his, similar to Gio's short, keeping more short and his hide the ball more. And he was kind of doing that with Cease, so it'd be interesting to see how, if he's shorting his mechanics, how that's going to affect his control.
Yeah.
But as far as the 5 seed goes with Carlos Rodon, if you guys haven't missed his start yesterday, he was looking pretty solid, and it was never, I hate how people bag on him, but it was never his talent. He always had the talent, but his issue was staying healthy. And again, pretty similar to Cease, his control has always been off. So it'll be interesting to see, can he stay healthy? Can he maintain with his control? If so, he should be able to lock that down. Now, I know in the articles I wrote in this offseason, I didn't think they were going to sign him after his arbitration, nor did I think he was on the roster. So they're giving him this last chance. Hopefully he takes it, runs with it. But otherwise, how I see it is Kopech is going to be using the bullpen to limit his innings. And if Rodon is struggling, I can see like late May, early June, Kopech being brought into the starting rotation to be your 5. And then they're going to watch him from there to see if they need to get someone else at the trade deadline.
I just tell you what, I'm just excited to see him be healthy and pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's not a lot of optimism there, but as the ticker says below, he's not giving up any runs and no walks this spring in 9 innings. This is a guy who really hasn't had a lot of health. So when he's healthy, he's been pretty decent. I think he could be a 5th starter, but I just have a hard time believing that why am I losing a blank? Reynaldo Lopez. I have a hard time believing that Lopez is not going to be up on this team the rest of the season.
No,
I know
Lopez will almost definitely be up at some point this year. There's no way all 5 starters stay healthy all season. That's just something we have to accept. That's something that Chuck mentioned is injuries happen, and it's still very early. So, but I think that with Rodon, to piggyback on what you guys are saying with his health, going along with that is the rhythm. Rhythm is really important to a lot of these guys. So if he can string 2, 3, 4 good starts together, and I know any pitcher, if they string that many good starts together, but I'm not talking necessarily a quality start. I'm just talking something where he can look back on it and say, I did this well in that start. He'll be able to build off that and gain confidence. And I think with Cease, I think it's purely a confidence thing with him at this point.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was at his first start for Dylan Cease, and he was dealing for the most part. I mean, this is a kid that's got it, and I think he'll put it together eventually. I tell you what, though, I'm with you guys. I think there'll be moves at the trade deadline, but you know what? I'm going to take it for what it is and look forward to just watching this team develop, because our 1-2-3 punch, I don't know if there's a better 1-2-3 punch in all of baseball.
No,
I'm going to be honest.
3 guys who finished in the top 7 of the Cy Young voting. That's unheard of.
Yeah, and Gio looks fully dialed in. I mean, Lance is looking great. And, of course, Keuchel is looking good. And, by the way, I haven't even mentioned this, but congratulations to Dallas Keuchel, recently engaged to his girlfriend. I'm forgetting her name, but she works at MLB TV or something like that. But congratulations to Kid Keuchel, man. That's pretty cool.
Excellent news.
News that always helps, little tidbits like that. Get it on the interwebs,
Definitely.
Wow. Crickets.
And sorry, I'm not. I'm.
It was a great joke. I appreciate it.
I'm more on the field. That's all.
It's all right.
If you want to get wrapped up in who's dating who and who's getting married and who's not, I understand.
I don't.
Their own, but
we're doing a White Sox show, so I pulled a little White Sox nugget from the interwebs, if you will. But that's all right. I got a little off charter there, but that. We talked a little bit about rotation. I'm excited about it. We're all ready to talk baseball. And we're going to do more segments throughout the course of the year, of course. I said that 3 times in a row. But we're going to do a segment every week where we talk about, the upcoming schedule, who we're playing, guys, how guys are doing, offensive production, all that stuff. And that's a segment that we call White Sox Weekly. Yeah, so this week's White Sox Weekly, obviously we're not going to preview the spring training schedule because it's just spring training. I think we do play the Cubs next week, though, so that's always exciting.
But
tomorrow. Is it tomorrow already?
I think so.
Yeah, spring training, White Sox, Cubs, always fun. But still, spring training, we're wrapping it up. Guys are fine-tuning, getting ready for the season. But we were going to talk a little bit about this offensive production in this spring, and we had a great lineup today, guys. These bats are finally starting to warm up. I'm hoping this is the lineup we're going to see all season long. Gonzo, is this your perfect lineup for what the White Sox have done, or how do you think these guys keep the runs coming in? Because Tony knows how to handle a lineup, and that's one thing I'm really impressed with so far this spring.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed, like how I mentioned in the interview with Chuck, how the lineup that was put together by Tony today is absolutely dangerous. The only issue I have with the actual everyday lineup is going to be right field, especially with Engel getting injured. He's going to leave Adam Eaton to be every day for a couple of weeks, which isn't too bad because I imagine Engel will be back, plan tuning with Engel on the matchups. But I really, this offseason, I was really looking for a trade of a player that was either entering his prime or a really good veteran to come in on a trade or something and be that production player at such a critical position in right field. Not only defensively, because your best arm is over there in right field, but it's nice to have a guy in the later part of that lineup that it's going to be adding to that production. And I mean, we were talking about how Eaton has his injury. He's more injury prone lately in Washington, and we'll see if he can be healthy here. But I really wanted another bat to be in this lineup to round it out completely. And I threw out Conforto. That was just a name that I saw. That he'll be a free agent this upcoming year. So if we were to trade for him, we'd have to extend him. But that's just a guy that I saw entering his prime at the right time.
He could even just be a rental player. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And that's how great teams are built a lot of the time. You get that one quick rental for the rest of the year, and that's how you cruise through the playoffs.
It really is. And, it's guys like that open up the future for tons of possibility. I mean, we could trade for somebody. We can we've got young talent. We signed Cespedes, who could be the long-term answer in right field. And I'm not talking about Yenis. I'm talking about his younger brother. This is a kid that's going to be exciting to watch. they're going to develop him, but he'll be exciting to watch. And I think, he could be a great piece. I don't think we see him at all this year for sure, and probably not next year, but he could be something coming down the pipe and see how he progresses. But I'm just excited to see this team all get out there at once and put it all together. I mean, a guy that we haven't given any credit to or talked much about at all this offseason is Tim Anderson, which I think is crazy because he's kind of had a slow start in spring, but this is a guy that won the American League batting title, 2 seasons ago, or if you want to call it 1.5 seasons ago. It's one of the reasons that this team is so good. And, you had this offseason where Fernando Tatis Jr. gets this mega deal, a guy that we traded for we traded for James Shields. But then because of that, we get a guy like Tim Anderson on a cheap deal. I mean, look at this. I mean, this guy was on fire throughout the last 2 seasons. And this is a guy really that he's a true value in this clubhouse. Hahn does not get enough credit for getting that long-term deal done when he did with Tim Anderson.
Yeah.
So if we kept Tatis Jr., we probably wouldn't have Anderson tied up for as long as we do at the price that we do. So, I think everything happens for a reason. Is it a great trade by any means? No. Was James Shields good for us? No. But we got Tim Anderson, and, I know a lot of people say they'd rather have Tatis Jr., but look what they paid for him. Look what we paid for Anderson. So I think we win that one.
Yeah, there's the values just there with Anderson, in addition to just his personality is, that's what's created this whole change the game is Anderson and the way he plays the game. And I know a lot of people want to talk about the other shortstop in Chicago for his attitude and the way he plays the game, but that just allows what we have on the South Side to be a little more special because Timmy's going to do what he does and the whole team's going to get fired up for it. And it's going to be great. And he's not going to be flashy about it. And he's not going to be on the, first string of ESPN highlights any day. And we're just going to quietly, go through and win and win and win and win and win and win.
What I like about Timmy Anderson is he calls out ESPN. He's like, "Oh, you guys are not sleeping on us anymore, huh?"
I was so great to see this offseason.
I mean, Timmy brings a fire to the South Side. He is the epitome of South Side, and it was no one better to give away a signed jersey for than Tim Anderson. So, again, congratulations. I'm trying to remember. Roll Tide 25. Aaron, congratulations to you for winning that jersey. We'll get in touch with you for that. And, of course, we're getting towards the point where we're going to start wrapping. But before we do, Gonzo, any last-minute thoughts on – I know we talked about the offensive production, but we wanted to dab for a hot second in the catcher situation because I don't know if anyone's got a better set of catchers in the league than the White Sox do right now.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see what Tony ends up deciding with that duo. It's probably going to be Luke Roy, the veteran presence and his handling of the pitching staff so far. Mercedes has been hot. Collins has been hot. Glad to be in this position because if they weren't hot, we would have less assets at the deadline to trade away. So that really helps Hahn in this situation. Luke Roy, I don't know if you guys saw the stats on Luke Roy. But he was batting .333. So if he can get back to those numbers that he was putting up in 17 when he was healthy, watch out. Watch out, guys. This is going to be a dangerous team.
And that's 333 with 15 at-bats. So it's not like he had like 2 at-bats.
Right.
So this guy's putting a solid spring together.
And I'm not really worried about the offensive production out of the catchers because we do have Yasmani Grandal, who's probably one of the best hitting, maybe even the best hitting catcher in the game right now. I'm more concerned with the defensive side of the catchers. That
Sure.
was my position when I played. So that's what I kind of look at is, how are these guys going to do with the pitching staff and everything? Because McCann really had a great rapport with all of them. And one of the more underrated parts of his game was pitch framing. I feel like he helped his pitchers a lot with that. And it's something that, in my opinion, Grandal's never been very good at. And I don't know Luke Roy well enough to know how he handles something like that. It's just, I'm worried about what they lost on defense and if the offensive production is going to make up for it.
Yeah, well, they've got these pieces to have all season long. We'll have them at our beck and call when we need them, and then especially when we have September call-ups, we're going to have all kinds of catchers on the roster, whether they could DH or whatever. That is if they don't trade them, but we are going to have a lot of talent on this team come September, and I'm just looking forward to this season as a whole. Guys, it's been a hell of a first episode. We got this baby off the ground. We have liftoff. Thank you again to the ever great Chuck Garfien from NBC Sports Chicago. If you guys haven't checked out his work, go check it out. Listen to the White Sox Talk podcast. You can't beat it. They're so good. Chuck is the man. And, we're just happy to be talking White Sox baseball with you all season long. There's a place for everyone to talk White Sox ball now, and that's here. And before we wrap, it sounds like Gonzo has a question from a listener over text message. So, Gonzo, before we get out of here, what is that question?
It's probably something we could have brought up to Chuck, because Chuck is the one that got this topic during one of his podcast interviews. But the question is Nick Madrigal going to hit over 3,000 hits? Something that Chuck put out there.
You got a fortune teller now? You got the crystal ball?
I don't even know how to answer that, because
I can't answer that question.
For a rookie, I mean, what was his batting average as a rookie last year? Like 340?
It was up there, yeah.
Well, he got hurt though. He was good though when he was playing. I was wrapping the show and I stopped it and I was like, man, I thought this was going to be a good question. And then it's like is Madrigal going to get 3,000 hits? I'm like, oh man.
I'm going to be the Debbie Downer and say no, just because of in recent day players with longevity, you need to have the longevity. And it's hard to see that with our recent players because they don't show that longevity at the moment. Never saying that he can't, because he has the talent to hit the damn ball, but I think you have to have that longevity.
He's got a lot of talent. The jury's out. I'm not going to answer that question.
On a future episode of this show, we may have a definitive answer.
Yes, 17 years from now, we'll know.
Or 17 months from now.
Yeah, you never know. He'll have a 3,000 hit season. That'd be cool.
Well, I was talking maybe he abruptly retires or something.
No, I know. I'm just kidding.
Speaking of the longevity problem.
Yeah. But getting back to wrapping the show, we appreciate all you guys for tuning in. The chat room absolutely going crazy. We really appreciate you guys all for hanging with us all night on what is our opening day, as Travis Dunaway likes to say in the chat. Thank you guys for joining us. It's been a hell of a ride getting this off the ground. We're so excited to be talking White Sox baseball with you every week. Don't forget to tune in. We're going to be on every single Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. There may be weeks that we start at 8, but I think 7:30 is probably going to be our normal time. And, of course, directly following us, we have Dan and Aldo Bear Their Souls, which is a killer show if you have not watched it. Aldo Gandia and Dan Aguirre bringing down the house as always. So do not miss that. And a huge thanks. I would be remiss if I didn't give thanks to our director for this show, Aldo Gandia, the man behind the Iron Curtain. Not the Iron Curtain, just the curtain in general, but he's hanging out back there. We appreciate you, Aldo, everything you do and running this network. You are the man. We appreciate you. And he's also a White Sox fan, so we love you for that too, Aldo. And, of course, I got to thank my co-hosts here. To go with Chris Gonzalez. Thank you very much, brother. And Steven Zimmerman, I appreciate you, as always, for hopping on, being my White Sox brothers in arms. And before we get out of here, gentlemen, anything you want to add? Gonzo, I'll toss it to you to say your adios.
Just once again, thank you, Barroom, or to our Barroom Flies, everyone in the chat, all of our White Sox fans. We do this mostly for you. I mean, let's be honest here. You guys are going to be the ones running the show, basically throwing everything at us in the chat, giving us that support that we love and deeply desire. Thanks you. That's all I can say.
Appreciate it. Let's toss it to Zim.
Yeah, just thanks to everybody for tuning in. It was a lot of fun tonight. We're only going to get better from here. So if you enjoyed tonight's show, it's a sign of things to come. We're going to improve week to week, just like the White Sox.
That's right. We're going to improve week to week. There's a hell of a first show. And this is the part where we remind you guys, next week we got another great guest 2 weeks in a row. We have Scott Merkin from MLB.com. He's the White Sox beat writer at MLB.com. He's a great guy and knows so much about this team, covering them for a very, very long time. So we're looking forward to having Scott Merkin on next week and bringing you great guests all season long. And I'll leave you with one thing for next week. We talked about our favorite ballpark food this week. Next week when we come back, chat room, and all week on Twitter, hit us up on Twitter. Tell us what your favorite ballpark sweet is. And we're going to talk a little bit of sweet to go with the savory next week. So tell us about your favorite ballpark sweet, and we're going to talk about it, and we're going to start drooling next week with pictures of ice cream and churros. It's going to be fun. So it's been a hell of a ride. We appreciate everyone. Thanks again to everyone for tuning in. Make sure you stick around for Dan and Aldo Bear Their Souls. It's been a great first week. And let's go, White Sox. Let's get some wins. Let's win some spring training games. We'll be back next week. We appreciate you. And we'll see you next time on South Burbs Hitmen.
Yeah!